Welcome to Conversations with Cashmere, powered by Digital Vibes. We are so blessed and honored today to have a wonderful guest on this podcast episode here, part of our health and wellness track right now. Want to welcome in Dido Balla, CEO of Kindness Matters 365. Dido, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait. J. Cashmere, just the name got me already. Let's go.
Balla is a great last name as well. Love the connection we already have. You are a national educator, a speaker, and an entrepreneur. For us in our health and wellness track, talk about your perspective nationally and what you do and how you motivate people.
So my life's purpose is to remind everyone that by the virtue of being a human being, you deserve to have a healthy life, which starts with emotional health. And I highlight that because folks tend to feel as if they aren't worthy or they are only as good as their grades or their job titles or their salaries. And the first mission is by virtue of existing. If you're listening, if you just exist as a human being, you are worthy of living a life that has a chance at fulfillment. And that's the foundation to everything. And from that point on, you look at where do most people go every single day, especially kids. It's schools. So who are the adults who impact the kids the most? Teachers. So I spend as much time as possible empowering kids, empowering adults such as teachers and parents in how to understand their own emotional health to live a life that has a better chance of them being fulfilled without feeling like they have to earn it somewhere.
You got such a deep connection with the audiences that you talk to. I love what I read online when I was doing background work with you. Imagine a world where emotional intelligence, emotional awareness, and emotional fitness are valued as much as academic achievement, social status, and physical fitness.
That part.
That's the deep connection. It's called mindfulness. Take us deep into that and talk about that.
So let's talk about this concept of who we are. Yeah. You are a holistic human being. Right? If you look at kids from the youngest age possible, they tend to feel as if their identity is being a student who's supposed to earn good grades. And then we get into that as adults as well. It becomes, I'm a professional, I'm a teacher, I'm an athlete, I'm an actor. But what I want folks to understand is that you are a holistic being, which means that before your job title, you're just a person who deserves to live a good life. And so if we valued, right, because society is interesting, right? We give attention to things that matter. If you have kids at home and you only tell them good job when they have good grades, only tell them well done when they have mastered a new skill at school, or good job when they get into a good university, or when they get a good job, you are teaching them that these are the things that matter the most. Now, as a teacher, I've seen kids have massive anxiety just because of one test. They feel as if their entire identity is tied into, am I going to get a good score at this exam? And then what college do I get into? And I'm just saying, us as the adults, we could do a better job teaching kids that we also value emotional health. And we know from the neuroscience that if the part of your brain in charge of your higher order thinking is not activated, you cannot achieve those academic goals. And guess what? When your mental health is struggling, that part of your brain starts to shut down. So you aren't even able to access all these things that we care about so much. So my goal is teaching folks the act and the art of being present in the moment. We spend so much time thinking about, what am I going to do tomorrow? My plans for next year are this. Or, last week, last month, last year, I made this mistake. I should have fixed it. I want to do differently this way or that way. The only time that's guaranteed is right now. So when I think about mindfulness, it means practicing the art of being where your feet are at.
Yeah.
The question I always ask myself out loud is, right now, is my mind where my body is? And to most of us, the answer is no, because on a good day, you're sitting here and your mind is like in 13 different places. Or even if you have a computer in front of you, like I bet those listening right now, the average probably number of tabs open is like 17 on your computer. Right. Like you're here, but you're not really here. Yeah. So mindfulness means practicing presence without judgment. I'm sitting here right now. I am grateful I get to sit here right now. I am present. I am not judging myself. I am not judging others. If we did more of that, we'd have a healthier world.
It's amazing how deep and the connection that you have. You grew up in West Africa, a graduate of Johns Hopkins University. Talk about your childhood and how it really shaped your future into the man you are today.
So I think about this a lot, this whole debate of perhaps let's call it nature versus nurture. And right, the conclusion is that we have the kind of nature that requires nurture. So you need both. I think I was born with something within me that always made me feel like, even if everybody around me is saying that this doesn't make sense, if it feels like it makes sense inside, I'm going to pursue that. I don't think I worked for that initially. I just had that. So I would just observe people around me, and I just always felt like I was meant to live a certain life. I knew early on that I wanted to travel. I wanted to be in education, and I just kind of pushed and pursued that. But the thing is, over the years, I learned how neuroplasticity works, right? Which is the concept that the more you practice something, the better your brain becomes at it. So for someone like me, growing up in Cameroon, not knowing anybody in the U.S., only thinking about the U.S. from a perspective of seeing movies or hearing hip hop on online, and deciding I'm going to go there. I mean, that is wild. There was nobody in my family, not a friend, not a single person. So for me to have that kind of determination and somehow see how that can happen, proved to me that I couldn't really do anything. I really believe that this concept of, some folks believe we have a static brain. You were born as somebody who has a math brain or an art brain or a sports brain, and that's it. You can't venture somewhere else. But that's just not true. Like, your brain is plastic. Anybody can improve at anything. So that childhood and leaving Cameroon and living in Ethiopia, living in Ghana, spending time in Nigeria, living in Benin, like all these countries, it showed me that you really can achieve anything you actually put your mind to. And that's why I feel like the soft skills, as we call them, such as kindness to yourself, emotional regulation, mindfulness, these are things that anybody can achieve. You don't need to be an expert in anything. You don't need to take a class on anything. By virtue of existing, you can learn how to practice emotional regulation, which once again will get you a step closer to live a life that makes you proud of yourself.
As you dive deep in talking about living in the present and that emotional regulation, we are so wired, to your point, to look to tomorrow, look to the next hour, and look back at what happened. How do you control that, and how do you bring yourself into that state? What tips can you offer people to kind of regulate yourself when you're in this moment, to calm yourself down, so you tune those out and you focus in on what you've got? You're standing on your feet right now.
Yeah, I'm going to give a few tips. The first thing to remember is that, so your brain has a few attentional mode, and the mind wandering mode is the default setting for everyone, right? If you don't try to do anything, if you just sit here, your mind is going to go everywhere. That's natural. So the first good news is there's nothing wrong with you if you struggle to be present. That's the first thing. The second thing is that listen to your own biology. Have you ever found yourself in a car driving somewhere with music loud, and before you made the right turn, you suddenly say to yourself, oh, let me turn down the volume so I can see better? And if you can relate, what kind of sense does that really make? Do you really need your ears to see better? Or if you have kids in the car, I say, okay, guys, stop. Mom needs still to see. Like, why? They're not like closing your eyes. So just right there, first, your biology reminds you that you are actually not really wired to be doing all those things at the same time. Okay, we got out of the way. Here are a few simple strategies. Use your senses. Always think about the moment, for example, that you start to feel anxious. It's almost as if your body is leaving itself. You're having an out-of-body experience. So in order to ground yourself, find things that remind you where you are and that you're safe. Number one, can you count 5 sounds that you can hear? And this is beautiful because we are so used to having noise around us that we don't think about the sounds. So when I say count the sounds around you, suddenly you're like, is that AC? Is that a car? Is there a fan around me? See, I'm just counting those things ground you. Then I always tell folks also, look for a door or an opening, because when your body feels trapped, just checking outside and seeing the light, knowing that there's a door, there's a window, I can go out. It makes you feel safe. Then there's also the texture. You can hold something. It can be something as simple as a pen, or pencil, or your cell phone. But ask yourself, how would I hold this pen or pencil or cell phone if this was the first time in my life I was seeing a cell phone. And forcing yourself to go through those senses grounds your body, right? So for those who love the neuroscience, it takes you from your amygdala being triggered in fight, flight, freeze mode into more present, using something as simple as a pencil you have. Then, of course, you have your breath, right? And remember that when we always say mindful breathing, it is not the typical way of breathing. Imagine somebody who's very anxious. They breathe up from their chest and they breathe quickly. That's not calming your nervous system down. So if you want to use your breath to be mindful, deep inhale, fill your belly with as much air as possible, because that's how you get oxygen into your brain. And then long, slow, and controlled exhale, just one time, and check on your shoulders. Just do it with me. Deep breath. Let's go. Long exhale. Relax your shoulders. And just that. Our grandparents knew something when they say, let me take a few deep breaths. So just those few steps are really good. And I'm going to add just two more things just because why not? If you've tried coloring and it's made you happy, lean into coloring. There's something about coloring, even if you are an adult. Coloring allows you to be present in the moment. And then the last one, if you have bubbles, blow bubbles, because blowing bubbles forces you to use a kind of breath that is controlled, and that calms your nervous system down.
You have trained thousands of students, parents, and educators through speaking engagements, community workshops, and coaching sessions. I love this in your bio. You're a brain trainer. I've never heard that before. That's really unique in what you do. You actually coach the brain, and when you think about it, you are doing that, but I've never heard it in those terms.
Yeah, it's all I've been talking about right now, right? Because I feel like there's nothing more important.
Yeah.
If you don't understand how your brain works, if you don't understand how to train your brain, like you train your biceps, like you train your chest and your quads, if you don't train your brain, how can you hope to get better at it? So I think about seeing someone as amazing as Deb doing a pull-up, and she had to train to do that pull-up. And so for me, training your brain is the same way. Like, you are born with a brain that is plastic, and so I think it's a worthwhile cause to dedicate your life to training your brain to be better disposed to give you the tools that you want when you want them in your life.
Your workshops have been called life-changing by students and parents alike. Many education professionals have referred to it as the best personal development session in their careers. I know Deborah Feinsinger, who works with Digital Vibes and us, has had you speak at multiple events, and the connection that you have with people is so raw and it's so powerful. What do you tell them, and how are you forcing this mechanism that you're teaching into our society here, and it's gravitating us, it's pulling us right to you? Tell us about your message and how powerful this is, and the connection that you're making with audiences across the world.
I think the first thing is not the what I say, it's how I say it. Right? Because you can read about the best experts in neuroscience or mindfulness. That's not me in the world. You can read, you have PhDs, folks who have spent decades studying this stuff. But there's something about the way, when I show up in front of an audience, I really understand that this is life-changing work. There might be somebody in the audience who perhaps later today did not know if they were going to have a meal, thought they were going to have a fight with someone, or there could be somebody in the audience who has suicidal ideation, who's thinking that at this point, my life has been so difficult that I may not be willing to be here anymore. I really take this seriously. So when I think about those things, I really am present. I am holding space for 200, 1,000 people. I really, really mean that. That's one. And then the message is simple. I remind them that they were born with the tools that they need to change their lives. And I channel the fact that as an educator who has worked with kids from different backgrounds, right? My first job was teaching English in Miami, in Overtown, in the inner city. And then I've also worked in Coconut Creek. Then I've also done work all around the world. I've seen young folks who, if they had known how to regulate their emotions, it would have made the difference between them going to jail or not, or shooting at someone or not. So when you think about those implications, I really show up and remind folks that Everybody has a capacity for good within us. We don't always act in that way, but the difference between having the capacity and acting the way that makes you proud is to having your emotions regulated. Like once you ground them into that truth, then they could all think about their own lives and the list of things that would be better if they were better at emotional regulation. And that's why you hear things such as life changing, because then I tap into their own lives and they can see themselves how these tools can help them. It's not because I am saying that you should do X, Y, Z. They can see it themselves and feel it themselves.
From that time teaching inner city youth in Miami, you saw the struggles that children face. You saw the inability to regulate their emotions as well. Today, when you're out and you see these students, what's the biggest challenge out there for us today that you're noticing in this community, in the audience that you speak to, and in those schools that you talk to?
So this is going to sound like a cliche too, but I think that technology has evolved in a way that has surpassed our biology, and we're still trying to catch up. And so the part of your brain that is in charge of your impulse control or making good decisions or higher order thinking isn't fully formed until age 25 or 26. So it is such a sensitive period of time from like say 12 to 18, 19. And when at 12, you already have a device in front of you that gives you access to the entire world. Just imagine that. If you wake up this morning and take your cell phone and catch up on the news from the entire planet, our brains weren't really like trained to capture so much. And imagine at a young age, and then you start seeing people having lives that seem great and perfect compared to yours. And then with doing all that, perhaps you aren't going outside. You aren't moving your body, you aren't interacting with people in a real way. And so that makes it difficult to understand that life is so much more than you realize. So that's why I love traveling. I love when kids from here connect from kids to somewhere else. I just came back from Cameroon in December, and we had kids from an elementary school here in Boca write little journals to some kids that we went to see in Cameroon, and then the kids in Cameroon did the same thing, and we sent the video, the journals back, and we showed the video to the kids in Boca of the kids in Cameroon writing journals for them, and that connection, that was so powerful. So I want the youth to understand that the world is big and expensive, and they can really experience it in a more deep and meaningful way if they are able to interact with people in a real way. And again, I'm not knocking technology. I love technology. I just think that there should be a balance. And when you are able to get everything that you want from your bedroom from a very young age, if it's not monitored and managed, it can be tough.
Yeah, the struggle is real for parents, for coaches, and for everyone out there. As you talk to people, how can they connect with you? You go across the country, across the world, and connect with people. Locally, you're in all our schools as well, really talking about that emotional regulation. Where can people find you? How can they relate to you? Where can they follow you?
So go to kindnessmatters365.org. That's the best place. That's our website. It has everything that we do. And also find us on social media, KM365 on Instagram. And really, we have a big event. I'm not sure when it's going to go out, but we have an event in March 7th. We have a big volunteering fundraising event where folks are going to come. We have a partnership with the Boca Museum. Come in the morning, do some activation, and then spend the day volunteering, just helping other people. Because again, I also like to remind folks that often when you're not doing well, it'd be surprising, but the first thing you should do is do something kind for somebody else. And it'll blow your mind what it does to you. To something simple. I didn't say something huge. Anything at all. So volunteering and helping other people is amazing. So come check us out March 7th, Boca Museum, 8 o'clock. But if not, km365.org on all platforms.
It's how you make people feel. And that impression that you leave them. Absolutely love that. As we leave our episode here, leave us with something inspirational for our audience. We're so blessed to have you in Palm Beach County, but we know your outreach goes across the nation and the world. What inspirational words do you have for us as we depart this conversation?
I want to leave folks with the 4 guiding beliefs that essentially lead all our work. The first one is that kindness is an infinite resource. Remember that. Kindness is infinite. There is so much of it. You don't have to be stingy with your kindness. Give it to yourself as much as you want. Give it to others as much as you can, because it actually multiplies. That's the first one. Number two, I already touched on a little bit. Every single human being is born with a capacity for good. I know that some days you aren't proud of yourself. I'm there too. I know sometimes your family members don't show up in the best way. I know that. But trust that they were all born with that capacity for good. And it's just to do the work to tap into that. The third one is that every action matters. Every action matters. Me making eye contact with you right now matters. Me asking you your name and saying it out loud, it matters. Holding the door for somebody matters. Thanking someone when they did something good for you, it matters. I will never stop sharing the fact that you'd never know if that one action will make the difference between somebody wanting to be alive or not. So always consider the impact of your actions. And the final one is we have a shared humanity. It doesn't matter where you live, what you look like, what you sound like. Every single human being, we're all connected somehow, and tapping into that, I think, is something I want folks to remember.
Dido Balla, thank you for your time.
Cashmere, appreciate it.